Welcome back to the Gyro Chess Club's YouTube channel. We're going over round 4 of my Marshall Chess Club tournament. And the game started out with knight to f3, pawn to d5, d4, c6. We transpose back into the Queen's Gambit. And now pawn to g3, going into the Catalan. This is an opening I've had a lot of trouble with. I think I've played it at least twice over the board and got absolutely destroyed. One way to play it is to try to hold on to the extra pawn. So we can play something like b5 here and try to hold on to this pawn. But this is very tricky to play. The idea is that white's going to play knight to e5 at some point, and this fianchetto's bishop is just a monster. It's really hitting this pawn, and we have to just be super careful. Like if we play bishop b7, knight to c3, and then we play really quick, let's say we play pawn to e6, we're actually completely losing here as black, because white can simply take the pawn, and we can't capture back because we'll lose our bishop. So this is just one of the many traps, that can happen. We could play check, but the knight simply goes back, and now the knight's going to recapture the c pawn. They'll be up a pawn, and their position is just better. They're going to put their pawn on e4. So it's very tricky. If you're going to play this as black, you try to hold on to your extra pawn for dear life, and it's just a hard opening to play against. So because of that, I decided to go for something new and play pawn to g6. And the idea here is instead of trying to hold on to the pawn, I'm going to let white recapture this c pawn, and I'm going to develop my bishop out, my other bishop out, my knight out, and castle kingside. We could also play something like knight to e4 and then knight back, and this also temporarily holds on to the pawn. Then we could play the bishop to guard the pawn, but again, we are going to lose this at some point. It's just very easy for white to pick that pawn back up, and we're going to allow that so that we just develop normally. And so it was going pretty well. Capture, capture. And then at one point around here, probably should just play bishop to g7 and get ready to castle. We play knight to a6, knight grabs, and then we play rook to c8, which I'm not sure if that was the best move. Maybe just bishop to g7 and castling right away. Because from here, we can see how this bishop is still being a monster and attacking these two pawns. So there's some fun moves like queen to b3, which start to, exploit this weakness. If we push the pawn, then maybe the knight can hop into the center and again still attack that weakened c pawn. So it's very tricky to play this. But luckily, white didn't play this. They just said, I'm going to castle. And once we got right about here where we can trade off material, I'm feeling, okay, I feel a lot better about this position. Yes, white has the bishop pair and they are better because they got e4. But then I'm going to play e6 and I'm going to hold on to this d pawn. So I'm just going to play super defensive and have no worries here. So the game went on, many moves, and we're just waiting for e4. And again, there's no way white can really push. So we just play a bunch of moves. We're pinned. White is up on time, just trying to hold on for dear life here. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Making use of the outpost, defense, and then right here I find a fun way to offer a trade because down on time I just want this to be over with. So we have pawn to c5, and so from here white grabs a pawn, we grab a rook, they grab a queen, we grab another rook with check. So it's 10 points for 10 points. My rooks are connected. That queen doesn't really have a check because my knight is doing a good job guarding, and I'm feeling good about this position. So king goes back. We play rook over here going after the weak backwards pawn. So they have to defend that. Yes, there is a passed pawn, but we're not too worried about it. We got it under control with the knight. And then from here, we get the rooks lined up looking at the king. Maybe there's even a checkmate threat, right? We can check. The king can go here. We could play something like h5 and then threaten checkmate. And there's nothing really better for white to do than just to protect the pawn, and then we trade back, and then we plant the knight on c7. And unfortunately, this is a game 25 game, so I'll have to explain what happened now as we go into time pressure. And it wasn't time pressure because we're about 20 moves. I had 1 second on the clock with a 5-second delay against my opponent's like 5 minutes, but I was able to hold this to a draw. Computer is saying obviously that white is winning. And that's probably because there's 3 pawns against 2. And yes, I am holding it onto this position. But maybe this king could walk all the way over here and start trading pawns off one by one and kind of win on this side of the board. But luckily, we were able to hold onto this until it became literally a knight and a bishop versus a king and queen. Sorry, a king and a bishop and a king versus a king and a knight, which was a dead draw.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more chess content.